Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Backstage Pass podcast. My name is Ben Barnard. I will be your host for today. And today we're joined by Matt Jacks from Lutron. Lutron are kindly sponsoring this episode. So really excited to get into a conversation here. Matt, do you want to just give a quick intro about yourself and about Lutron?
Yeah, no worries. I've been working for Lutron for the last 7 years. Initially working in our experience centre, looking after and hosting all the various different customers that come to that show space. And now more recently running our commercial integrator channel. I've been working in the commercial technology market, either Pro AV or Lutron for about the last 25 years. I've got some knowledge of what we do, both at Lutron and prior. So hopefully I can bring some interesting stories to the topic today.
Excellent. I'm sure you can. So obviously we're talking about ISE in the lead up to that. I'm sure everyone's super busy. We're certainly busy over here. Lutron, I'm sure you're getting ramped up for it. What's the sort of the Lutron preparation? What do you do getting ready for the show? I'm sure it's as manic as it is over here.
Yeah. So we start quite a way back. So I think my first meeting was probably late summer. And we start to sort of formulate the topics we want to cover, the areas we want to touch, and then the team starts to come together. And then, of course, always, things move around a little bit. There's kind of a little bit of a rush towards the end, chasing down and buying the components to go on the stand. Because, of course, we sell world-class line controls, what Lutron's about, have been for the last 60 years since we invented the Diro to today when we have systems that control whole buildings and fantastic places like the Empire State Building. But we can't build a stand, right? So we can only do the lighting control on the stand. So we have to go and buy the lights and find people to help us with audio and all sorts of great stuff. So it's just like a big shop-a-thon really in that run up. So
Yeah, fantastic. So what are you looking forward to at the show? Like when you touch down, when you get into the halls, when you sort of when the stage is finally set, the doors open, the customers come in. What gets you excited? What are you sort of looking to do?
I mean, it's really a simple one for me. It's talking to people who don't know us, right? So, there is nothing more exciting than sharing the value of what we bring to a residential or commercial application, frankly, to somebody who doesn't know what it is, or kind of cheesily turning the light on in these people, right? So it's been a privilege of mine to do that for the previous years, and I continue to have that privilege when I'm running and working with the channel directly, right? It's a really exciting thing. People don't realise how impactful and how dramatic light can have an impact on the way we work and how we live, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been lucky enough to visit the Lutron showroom in London. It was, and you kind of did a demonstration for me. It was a fantastic experience, and it is really sort of important, I think, to sort of you can speak as much as you like to people about lighting control and how important it is in the environment and all that kind of stuff, but really sort of trying to showing people is the kind of the biggest impact, I think, when you when you have that they have that kind of technology at your disposal. How do you sort of, I mean, how much of what you do is actually demonstrable on the stand at ISE? Do you have an environment when you can really show the 100% of what you can do?
I mean, look, can you ever show 100% at a show? It's a volatile environment with lots of light leakage, so it's never perfect as you'd want it to be in a controlled environment like we have at the Experience Centre you visited. But we have made a phenomenal effort this year to really bring that experience to the show. We've tried before, we've done it in smaller areas, and this year we've actually made 2 dedicated vignettes, 2 areas on the stand, one for residential and one for the commercial application. So one like a living room, I suppose, in a home, and one like a small sort of huddle space or meeting space, collaboration space, to try and explain the values that automated shades and advanced lighting control can bring to the table in those 2 applications. I think, I'm genuinely excited to show that to people, because sometimes, you show someone a box, so here's my dimmer, and they're like, oh yeah, I mean, what's it do? All of our power is what it does, not in some ways, not what it looks like, or although we make some beautiful things, and that's important for a lot of people. What it does is much more impactful, excuse me. Those experiences.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you talk about sort of getting down and, sort of speaking to people and all that kind of thing. if you had to sort of put your finger on some of the main kind of goals for Lutron at the show this year, what are you looking to achieve sort of specifically in those conversations and that you're going to be having on the show floor?
Yeah, I mean, look, at a high level, light is more than what we see. The things that we do are more than what we see. It's a feeling, right? It becomes something more tangible when we understand it in any application. And for the customers who don't know us, and for the dealers and integrators who don't know us at the show across the globe, and obviously we know ISE is a global show. I'm very much focused in the UK, but we have teams from all over the continent supporting us at the event. It's really about sort of shining a light on that, right? Pardon the pun, and making sure people understand that value. But it's also about nurturing the people who we already work with, right? Lutron's got a long history. We've been working, in the UK for decades with our dealer network residentially, and we want to support them, right? So it's a place where people come together to catch up and see new products. And for us, things like our new fantastic S-Fold track and the new software platform we have at Lutron Connect, or the new augmentation, new versions of the Lutron Connect platform are a hugely important thing for us to showcase to our existing customers. So it's very much a simple goal of helping people who don't know us to understand us and helping the customers who do understand us to feel, nurtured and loved, about who we are.
Absolutely, and I don't think you need to shy away from those puns. I think that there are plenty there that you could lean into. Shining a light on things, having that light bulb moment. Maybe that's something that we could.
Definitely lean into the pun. I've got some cracking dad jokes about light, so but we don't want to steal that.
Save some of them for the show, right? You don't want to reveal them all on the podcast.
You have to pop by our stand. You have to go and pop to 2J350 to really hear it all. So.
Absolutely, and that's something you're going to be saying a lot, I'm sure. Sort of like the stand. So I'm glad you got that. Glad you got that memorized. We'll remind listeners and viewers of that at the end of the podcast as well. So that's that's fantastic. So from a sort of a customer perspective, if somebody were to come by to the stand, have a look, have that, as we say, light bulb moment where they realise that they want Lutron to come and have a look. What does it look like in terms of how you kind of come into a space, analyse it? What do they need to do? Whether it be, let's say, for example, I don't know, a lecture theatre or something like that. If you were to go in there and do it, what's the kind of process from start to finish?
So that's a great question, Ben. So I think the journey for the customer from literally no idea through early inception into detailed training and nurtured long-term relationship is core is training, right? And support. So let's address that. So from a training perspective, whether at the show with the trainings that we're doing for our new tracks, and actually a fantastic training on how to sell shades, because clearly that's, that feels a little alien sometimes to people. It feels a bit different than what the technology that they're probably used to. But frankly, it's a fantastic training run by a couple of really world-class trainers of ours. Through to the training we offer online and self-service and instructor-led throughout the year. Training is at the very core of who we are. We make great products, be under no illusions, world-class, perfectly performing, long-lasting, fantastic piece of technology. But if you don't know how to use them or integrate them or design them, you kind of got a great box sat on your desk, right? So, you need to know what to do with it. So we understand that, and we have a global training team, both that offer and create content on our learning platforms called the Lutron Controls Institute, or LCI, as it's well known. People can join there, and that would probably be the first point. From that meeting on the stand, we'd re-engage and take them through that training, become a member, to become registered on the platform, and then go through those kind of early training programs to become more aware of what it's about. Then they go to qualification training, and then, of course, as you kind of find your first job, then we support you, right? So from a commercial and a residential perspective, but I'll talk for myself in the commercial side, we take that journey with that dealer. And let's say that's you, Ben, you got your Ben Barnard AV, you come in, you find a lecture theatre. But we'd help you prior to that as well, right? We would say, look, this is the technical training, but we also see an immense amount of value in understanding how to go and find the job yourself, right? So the sales training, if you will, sounds like a cliche, it's not like always be closing or something in sales training. It's understanding the value of what you are as a person and the relationships you might have, the opportunities you might have, which is also a really exciting thing to get into with dealers when we get that chance as well. You find the job. and then we'll support you on that job as well, right? We'll come with you. I come and look after you, make sure you understand what you need. We've got a large network of relationships with luminaires and lights and fixtures that allow you to sell more than just what I offer, right? So I have a vested interest in offering a solution totality, right? So in totality, rather. I think when I look at meeting rooms, we talk about this a lot at the Experience Centre with customers now. The user journey for someone in a meeting room can be quite easily articulated into the things we do, but we don't often, as an industry, think about all of the things that might affect, a 10 out of 10 experience. So if I was to say to you, click a button on the wall, it says meeting. What are the things that need to be in our control as an integration community to make sure that that is a 10 out of 10 experience for a meeting or one for a presentation, or one for a video conference, right? These are things which happen every day, and that our customers, rather than my customers, but the users probably realize that there's pain there. They probably realize that it's not perfect. They don't necessarily know why. And it's up to us to guide them, because there's no one on the high street that says, how to create a great meetingroom.com shop. It just doesn't exist, right? So we need everyone to be educated enough and be informed enough to help all the customers to achieve those perfect experiences and all those great places where we live and work, right? So to have that perfect experience.
Absolutely. And if it were to, I'm sure there are multiple benefits of having the right environment when it comes to lighting in a certain space. But what are the main things that people just don't realize and kind of like don't kind of almost realize the value of when it comes to having the right lighting in a space? What are the benefits that you can achieve?
It's really all the obvious stuff, Ben. So we don't realise that daylight affects the camera performance. So if I look at VC, right, so it's probably a hot topic for us all because the world's digitising in terms of the meeting room. Mm-hmm. We've all got, most of those rooms have got glaze in them. Sometimes two walls perhaps of glazed portion in that building. Well, that's loads of light coming in. That's a problem. Cameras can struggle with that. Even great cameras, unfortunately, the sun is pretty powerful, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. It can cause some challenging environments for cameras to perform. So taking control of natural daylight through automated window treatments is something we do, right? So we're known as the company that dims light, but also one of the world's largest manufacturers of automated window treatments. And that's a key component of us, because that's actually what we're about. We're about creating great spaces, productive, sustainable spaces by controlling light, totality, all of it, all light, right? So artificial and natural. So dropping a shade down helps the camera perform, allows the customer to see you, right? To see and then, of course, perhaps hear you, right? So Microsoft talk a lot about this, which kind of intrigues me when I came into this market. Mm-hmm. They say see and be seen and hear and be heard, to be able to have great collaboration. It's kind of interesting, right? So there's bring a shade down. That allows the camera to see us. And they've got to change the light, the artificial light, perhaps, because we now need to, to make it right in the right places so that our faces are well lit, rather than, letting it just happen. Then, of course, hear and be heard, that's acoustic. So then when you think about all the other things, and I know a lot of the people who listen to this podcast will be looking at acoustics, and many of them will be selling it already. They'll be selling acoustic walls and thinking about how that performance can be improved. And of course, we're part of that as well. So a blind offers some level of acoustic baffling for a glazed portion. So we're killing two birds with one stone. We also need to think about the way the lighting is designed. So if we've taken a space and transformed it from a non-digital meeting room into a digital meeting room and perhaps a dual-purpose meeting space, then making sure that there's not too much light in the wrong places, rearranging them, dimming them, and taking control of that light is then critical. A switch doesn't cut it anymore. Mm-hmm. I suppose in really simple terms, Ben, the way I look at it, as I say, is if a space was used for one thing and one thing only over and over, then we can probably design it and it doesn't need to change. But if it's transient in use, if there's one other use or maybe two or three things, and we want it to be, we want to be appropriate for each of those different tasks, then I need to take control. It's not one set level. It changes, and needs to be tailored for those different applications as well. So that's absolutely not just a meeting, right? Yeah,
no, absolutely. And I think that is very much a hallmark of the kind of the modern world and the post pandemic world. It's the spaces are multi-use now. You can't just guarantee that one room is going to be just for in-person meetings, another is going to be sort of like a huddle space for virtual meetings. All of these spaces have to be flexible. So as you say, being able to control that space for the different environments, because obviously lighting for in-person meeting is going to be different for lighting for virtual meeting, kind of hybrid and all that kind of stuff, I suppose.
Yeah. I think the same is true in Resi. Sorry to cut across you. I think same is true in Resi. It's just more mature, right? So we look at a kitchen, living, dining space. I used to call them KLDs. That's the way we live now, right? We live open plan, and we know that the light we want in the living space for relaxing is different than the light we might want for cooking. Mm-hmm. So quite quickly we start to realise the value of that different lighting level and ambient light and artificial light control to make that space work properly. And that's taken us a while as a race and as an industry to know that's a real hot spot in a home for everyone. And I think most people would recognise there's some value in being able to tailor the light in those spaces. This is a similar story, right? In a meeting room or in a town hall space as well, right? Or in a retail space, or a restaurant. All these different applications, they have multiple users, multiple needs from a light perspective, and making sure it's appropriate for those individual tasks is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you also mentioned, you mentioned before about sort of window treatments, ambient light, all that kind of stuff. I know you have some technical and sales training on window treatments. Can you give us just like a little taster of that? I know obviously Lutron are famous for their training and there's a lot there, but that kind of specific thing is something that we mentioned before. So if you give us a little taster on that.
Yeah, so we've specifically focused in two areas. So we've got a workshop, is what we're calling it, on our new curtain track. It's called S-Fold. It's fantastic. I don't want to share too much because I want you to come and see it, obviously. It's fantastic. Again, seeing is what this is all about, I think, when it comes to our area. But then also on Palladium Wire Free, which is a fantastically beautiful and elegant battery-powered, long-lasting, super silent, beautifully finished roller blind treatment. And that's a workshop where you get to understand how to install it and how it works. And there's a good primer for all of the training that comes thereafter. We also have a training on selling window treatments because, let's be clear. If you come from a technology space and you move into line control, it's quite close. There's lots of similarities between different technologies. We move into soft furnishings. It does feel sometimes quite alien. And I used to hear that a lot from dealers. It isn't, and it is in some way a technical sale. Controlling lights, about filtering it, about controlling it, putting it in the right place, making sure that's all seamlessly integrated into that narrative and picking the right fabric. Some of these things can feel really challenging. And I think we do a fantastic job, the team do a fantastic job of breaking that down into real bite-sized chunks. And we're taking that on the road. We've been doing that for a few years now. In the Experience Centre and in other locations around the UK, but we're now taking on the road to the shows. I think it's been well attended, and people are signing up for these courses, which you can do either by contacting their local sales rep or indeed on the LCI itself. So if you're already a Lutron partner, you can jump on there, and I think you can sign up for the courses on there.
Fantastic. And how do people find their local sales rep if they're not already sort of like familiar with Lutron?
Yeah, so I think if you're buying through our distribution channel, then you can reach out to them directly, and or they should have a direct relationship. Our direct dealers have deep relationships with their account managers, so they should already know them, right? So, but if not, you can call the office.
Fantastic. Excellent. So I know, speaking of, as we were earlier about the booth and kind of how it's all designed, I know you're also running a booth competition at the Lutron stand as you do every year. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think, as I said at the start, the goal for us is to nurture our customers who know us, but also find new ones and reach out into the void of, or not in the void, rather into the melee of ISE, and make sure that everyone comes and experiences what we got to show, to see that, to understand light is more than what we see, it has this feeling, and how integration's key and all this kind of great stuff. So what we're doing is we're saying, look, come on the stand, take a photo on the stand, post it on LinkedIn with a hashtag ISE Lutron24, excuse me, and then you enter in the competition. We'll repost it and into the the wide ether of LinkedIn. and then we'll draw a winner from that at the end of the show. So I think it's about pushing out and sharing, sharing information. We're running that predominantly with Midwich, but of course anyone could take part in that really. So it's about sharing, the experiences we have on our stand.
Excellent. And what can people win if they get picked? If they
win?
Yeah.
I think it's an iPad or iPods or Apple AirPods, something like that. So yeah, it's a nice product. We've also got some fantastic promotions on the stand as well, like we always do. But again, come understand what they are. So they're residential and shade. There's one for commercial systems as well. So yeah, come find out what those are about.
Nice one, fantastic. Are you a large team? Do you send a large bunch of people to the show?
Yeah, normally the whole team come, sometimes staggered. I haven't actually seen the final numbers, but it's a significant investment for us in time, obviously money, of course. So yeah, I think this year we've got quite a big core team that are basically looking after the stand rather than perhaps meeting customers, which historically we would have done. We'd have booked a meeting and had a meeting on the stand. Now we're really trying to sort of drag people in. Yeah. And engage with new customers, and then very specific meetings, and nurturing at the cafe area on the stand. So
fantastic. And we've been asking everyone on these interview segments that we've been doing if they've got if they're sort of veterans of ISE, if they've been a few times, what are your top tips for newcomers? I mean, it's hard to believe that there are ISE's been going. It's the 20th anniversary this year, so but we've always got new people coming. It's going to be their first time, which is absolutely fantastic. Great to have all these new people. What would you say to a rookie, a first timer? What's your biggest tip?
Yeah, I'm going to show my age here. So I'm trying to work out if I went in 04 or 05. I went in when it was in Geneva Airport, or in the airport, just outside the airport. And I did not do this. And if I was walking the show like I was that day, rather than being on a stand and, having to wear the uniform you've got to wear and so on, I would be wearing comfortable shoes 100%. It is a comfort exercise as much as anything, because you are going to walk a lot. You've got to be focused, rehydrate, really important. Take breaks, all that kind of good stuff. Make sure you enjoy the experience by giving yourself enough time. It's not a race. There's a lot of time to see a lot of great things, and it's the bit I enjoy the most. Actually, normally if I stay to the Friday, I think this year I'm going to be out on the Thursday to try and get some time to go to the places that you don't get to go and get a lot to see. So things like the audio hall, I think that's audio, is that 7? Seeing the big installations there is always mind blowing. All the big displays, the Christie one always used to really, and the Barco ones always used to really wow me. So I always try and make it, a brief stop and do enjoy these moments.
Absolutely. And do you think what are your views and sort of the pros and cons of planning out everything to the nth degree and just kind of letting the whole process wash over you? Do you think it pays off to sort of try and schedule meetings every? Yeah, or do you just think go in there?
I mean, I've probably been a lot as an attendee, a proper attendee, and yeah, I think planning is critical. Otherwise, you really can get lost. I think even in the early days, you could lose half an hour on a stand talking to somebody because they're in a great conversation. Right? You meet me, you're going to talk to me because I'm great, right? But at the same time, that isn't necessarily what you came for. So yeah, I think having some structure really important. To highlight that you've got a great floor map and great ways to find your way around it and mark those key areas you want to go to. You want to make one of those to be us, right? So mark 2J350, come and see what we're about.
Absolutely. Well, as you say, time definitely does fly when you're having fun, and we've been chatting for a little while now, so we're coming to the end of the episode. If people do want to come by and see Lutron, remind us again of the stand that you guys are at.
So we're 2J350.
Absolutely fantastic. And you're going to be joining us on the Avixa TV booth on Thursday, the 1st of February. That's going to be at 4 p.m. local time. So you're going to be coming by. I think you were saying earlier that's almost like your last engagement before you fly out. So hopefully you still got the energy to join us and give us a good interview.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, no, I think it'll be really. Like I say, it's the fun. It's the great part of the job, right? It's to meet customers, meet our old colleagues and friends, and share what's going on and all the great things that are happening in the market. And all the great things we could do together. So yeah, I think that's the fun bit. That's the bit I get energized by. I sleep on the plane.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you very much indeed, not just for in advance for joining us on the Avixa TV booth at the show, but for joining us today, for sponsoring this episode. For those of you listening and watching, thank you for listening and watching. This has been episode 3 of the ISE Backstage Pass podcast. Again, kindly sponsored by Lutron. I've been Ben Barnard. I've been talking to Matt Jacks here from Lutron, and we look forward to seeing you, Matt, in ISE in Barcelona, and we look forward to seeing all the attendees there as well. So, Matt, thank you very much again, and thank you to everyone watching and listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Bye-bye.